Today I'm going to show you how you can always be the first to reach the ground and get a gun before your opponents, how to move around the map and engage enemies quicker and more efficiently, and much, much more, all by just changing a few Warzone settings that you probably didn't even know existed. The first setting we're going to change today is a really important one. It's all to do with how we put on armor plates, which is probably one of the most important things in Warzone. Armor plates are the reason that you will stay alive. If you can't get armor plates on quickly, you will lose a lot of gunfights. By default, unfortunately, in Warzone, you have to press the button loads and loads of times to keep putting armor plates on. You see, I press it once, my guy slots in the armor plate, and then that's it. So if I want to put on another one, I've got to sit here. Okay, moving around. Okay, now I put on another one. It's not good. It's too many inputs. We want to focus on just being able to be as slippery as possible, running away as the armor plates come on, and then when we want to take the challenge, we can get back into the gunfight. So let me show you how we change that. What you want to do is come to your settings area, then either go into keyboard and mouse or controller, depends on which one you're playing on. I'm on keyboard and mouse. And then you're going to scroll down in the gameplay area to combat behaviors, and kind of halfway down near the bottom, armor plate behavior. By default, it's set to apply 1. You want to change it to apply all. Now what you'll see will happen is if I just press that input once, I will put on all the plates one by one. And I can focus on still moving around while that's happening. So I can press the button, move around, be as slippery as possible. Really going to be hard for enemies to keep up with you. Also, I can just start shooting as well. Just press the click and it will stop putting on the armor plates so I can take the fight if need be. Let me show you all that right now. So I'm going to press the button once, and I'm moving around. 2 plates on. Okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to take the fight. Now I'm going to press it again, and we're going to keep moving around. So you still get loads of control, but you limit the amount of inputs you need to put in the first place. Really important setting. Go and change it now. Before we move on to the next setting, I'm going to give a big shout out to today's video sponsor, World of Warships. World of Warships is a free-to-play naval warfare themed multiplayer game in which players can battle it out with other players or play co-op modes like the advanced PvE battle mode. The game focuses on tactical, slower paced gameplay, controlling one of over 500 historical ships across 11 different nations. Destroyers, cruisers, battleships, aircraft carriers, and even submarines, which have just been added recently, with an awesome gameplay experience. And to make it even better, all of the ships can be customized to fit your playstyle. The maps you play on feel truly alive with stunning graphics and dynamic changing weather during battles. You can also set up divisions, allowing 3 players to join up and fight battles together. It's all about working as a team, which is super rewarding, especially when you play with friends. World of Warships is definitely a game you need to try out, and with my link in the description below, there's never been a better time to jump in. New players who use my link to register will get access to a huge starter pack worth €25, perfect for getting into the game even quicker and getting an advantage over other new players. So go check it out, link in the description below. The next setting we're going to change is going to be all to do with personalizing the in-game colors of things like pings and other informational bits on the screen that are really important and by default might not be the best for you. For me especially, my pings are this green color. Now, to you, they may stand out, but I have a little bit of color blindness. A lot of guys do. And I find it really hard to spot that really obviously against a lot of the green on the map and things like that. Same goes for pings of teammates in my squad. Sometimes they just blend in with stuff and I completely lose them. The information just goes and I end up not being very useful. Let me show you how to change it. You're going to go to Interface. Then you're going to go to color customization near the top, open up squad member colors. You've got 6 squad members in here. Obviously, we only care about the first 4 because 5 and 6 aren't used in Warzone. And you can start changing these things around. So squad member 1, that's me. That will always be me. I'm going to make that a nice sort of bold yellow. Now, I've got a bounty contract on me, so hopefully they don't come for me. But now, that just stands out that little bit more. Way, way better for me. And I'm going to do the same for the rest of my squad because I want them to be more defined, more sticking out. So I'm going to take squad member 3 and I'm going to make him a white, just a bold white. And then squad member 4, I'll stick them to an even more kind of pinky pink. But that just makes everything stand out a load more. And you should be going in and customizing this stuff rather than just assuming that it's already set up the best for you. The other thing you want to do, let's go back into the interface setting, a little bonus here. Go down to the color filter settings. I've already got this turned on, but you want to have filter 2, both 100, 100 down here. If I just turn this filter off, it might not be too obvious in the video, but the overall contrast and saturation of the game just completely drops. And it makes it a lot harder to pick out individual things on the screen from each other, and it's just not as nice to look at. So I would recommend you turn that filter on. It's very subtle. It's not going to completely blow out the colors or make everything look unnatural. It just makes the game look really, really good. Once again, interface, color customization, color filter, filter 2, put all this on as I've got it here, and those colors, especially the UI elements, are all gonna just pop that little bit more. Next up today, let's talk about parachuting in. Now, by default, you're gonna get beaten to the ground so much in this game, because as you get to a certain height above the ground, your parachute will automatically deploy, and every new player or inexperienced player will have this turned on by default. And you'll just land, and some other sweaty guy will have already gone into a building, got a gun, he'll come out, and he'll kill you. I'm going to show you how you can change that, and it's really, really important that you dial this in. You're going to go to Settings, then Keyboard and Mouse or Controller. Obviously, pick whichever one your input is. For me, that's Keyboard and Mouse. And then in the gameplay area, it's under Movement Behaviors near the bottom, one up from the bottom actually, Parachute Auto Deploy. Change this from always to off. You don't want plane only, where it will make it so the auto deploys only when you come out of the plane. All the other times it's fine. The plane is the most important bit. It's the beginning of the game. It's where you can make or break pretty much the rest of the game. So put this off. What I'll do now is I will kill myself and I'll show you now what happens. The technique now is we have to press our deploy shoot button, which by default is your jump button. You have to do that as near to the ground as possible without splatting. So let's see if I can do it. That was pretty good, but I could probably get even nearer to the ground. And by doing that, I've now landed. If I landed near a building, I could run in, grab a gun, pop out, and I'm ready to fight straight away. There could be other people still parachuting in from all kinds of directions, and I am ready every single time. Unfortunately, obviously, the one caveat is that if you don't pull that chute, you just hit the ground and die, which will happen a few times, and you'll just have to accept it, go into the next game, and make sure it doesn't happen again. Now, if you are finding these settings to be useful or informative and you want to see more of this kind of thing from me moving forward in the future of Warzone, then please do consider subscribing down below. It literally takes one click. It is no effort on your guys' part, and it means an absolute ton to me. So yeah, go and click that button now. Next up, we're going to talk about how we can move around a lot quicker and more efficiently while still staying in control of how we are moving, blending that all together. Really, really important. And a lot of people have this set up completely wrong. So by default, in Modern Warfare 3 and Warzone, if you want to tactical sprint, you have to double tap your sprint key, which for me is shift, and that puts you into a tactical sprint. After a little bit, that tactical sprint will run out, and I sort of start spamming that button again a couple of times, not really knowing when it's going to come back, and eventually the cooldown comes back up, and I can sprint again. But I'm having to constantly focus on putting that sprint input in to move as quickly as possible, which isn't too efficient. Now, what a lot of people do, I know a lot of streamers and pros do this, is they fix it by turning on automatic tac sprint, which you can find in either the keyboard and mouse or the controller area. It's under automatic sprint, and you put on automatic tactical sprint. And a lot of people leave it as this, where you can now just put in a move forward input. So for me, that's W on the keyboard without a sprint input, and I'm straight into a tactical sprint every single time. So I can be as cracked out as possible, slide cancel, moving around, no sprint key needed. Sounds good, but not really, because I no longer can walk. I can only sprint, or tactical sprint, or sprint when the tactical sprint runs out, as you'll see now. I have no option to walk and be sneaky and be tactical if I want to, which is really not very good. My feet are stamping around as loud as possible. So I'm going to show you how you can get a happy medium of the two, and it is by far the best setup for Warzone. What you need to do, go to keyboard and mouse or controller, turn off that tactical sprint automatic. We don't want that, so put that off. Instead, you're going to go 3 settings down to tactical sprint behavior, and you want to put this from double tap to single tap run, which as you can see here says single tap to tactical sprint while running. What this does now is if I just put in a move forward input, I'm walking. So I have control of that now. I can just walk around. I've still got my gun ready and up. But now if I put in just that one sprint input, straight into a tactical sprint. No normal sprinting, no double tap needed. Very, very nice. And there's an even added bonus over the original setting, which is that if we just put in those 2 inputs, so moving forward, now sprinting, and we just hold it, without even needing to put in any more sprint inputs, we will always automatically refresh tactical sprint as and when it's available. So I'm moving around at technically the quickest possible speed we can have, but when I want to, I can now stop, I can do a bit of walking backwards and forwards, I still have control. Bit of a long explanation, but you need to set this up like this if you want to win more gunfights whilst moving around quicker. This next setting is going to be a really important one for those who are using a keyboard and mouse and are wanting to improve their aim, because we've had a lot of complaints about coming up against controller players and aim assist and all that, but the real bigger problem is just how the mouse input can feel in this game. Sometimes it can just feel a little sluggish, or a little bit like there's some sort of mouse acceleration where it doesn't feel one-to-one. And luckily, Metaphor over on Twitter, he's a YouTuber, streamer, kind of pro player in the game. He put out a tweet talking about a config file change that you can do, which will actually improve your mouse input quite a bit. And I can definitely vouch for it that it has helped me. So let me just quickly show you how you do it. We're actually not going to be doing it in-game. We're going to be doing it in the config file outside the game. So for you guys watching, make sure your game's closed. I've still got mine open because I've already set this up. But if you don't have the game closed, it's not going to work. What you want to do is come to your Documents folder. So open up your Windows Explorer, go to Documents, then go to Call of Duty, then open up Players. And then inside of here, you'll have a config file called options.4.cod23. You might not have the .cst bit at the end. That's the file extension, and you might not have file extensions showing. You want to right-click this and click Edit, or you can go Open With and select Notepad. If Notepad's not showing here, you can click More Apps and scroll down here. Essentially, you want to get to the point where this is opened up in your Notepad editor. What you then want to do is press Control F on your keyboard to open up the Find dialog, and you're going to search for RAW. Click Find Next, and you'll find this setting called Use RAW Mouse Input. By default, this is what you would think correctly set to true, because raw input in pretty much every PC game gives you a better feeling mouse input. For whatever reason, it is not feeling good in this game. So what you want to do is actually change it to false. Once you've done that, you just need to click File and Save, or press Control S to make sure that is saved in the config. Reopen up your game, jump in the firing range, jump in a private match, jump in a plunder, and just see how it feels, because honestly, this was an absolute game changer to mouse input. Big shout out to Metaphor. I will have the link to his tweet in the description below so you can have a look at that to show that I'm not just making this stuff up. This genuinely made the game feel so much better for me in both Warzone and Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer. The final setting today is a little bit of a bonus one, but it is so important to basically know whether or not you should stay in a game once you've loaded into it. Because right now the Warzone servers seem to be on fire. There are laggy, kind of weird, desynced servers, and sometimes you can't really tell if you're in a bad one or not, or if it might just sort of pan out and get better, and you just find yourself wasting, half an hour to an hour over your game session just being in servers that are completely worthless being in. What you want to do before you jump into a game is come up to your settings, go to your interface, scroll down to telemetry. You can then in here click on custom, click show more, and you can turn on a bunch of things here. The one that we care about, as well as things like FPS and server latency, which are really good, is actually packet loss. This is the golden setting right now for knowing whether or not a server is worth staying in. Let me show you. So now that we've jumped into a game, we've got the telemetry showing in the top left, and we have an instant indication of whether or not this server is kind of screwed or not. Luckily for us, the one we've just jumped into has 0% packet loss, which appears to be the thing which you can look at quickest and know whether things are going wrong. If that's at anything above pretty much 0%, you know that the server you're in might be having some problems. I've had games where it's been at 10% or even higher packet loss, and that just feels terrible. You will have fights where you shoot your gun, it doesn't feel like you're lagging, it doesn't feel like the enemy's lagging, but bullets just don't connect, and then you just suddenly die. You look at the kill cam, and apparently you didn't even shoot, and they shot, but it looked like they missed, and it's just a complete mess. Save yourself some time, turn on the packet loss in the telemetry area, and yeah, just stop wasting time jumping into games that are completely worthless. So now that you've got these gameplay settings dialed in, the next thing you need to go and do is watch this video, where I give you guys the definitive best rundown of all the graphic settings in Warzone. Right now, it's going to get you the highest FPS, lowest input latency, as well as overall improved visibility of enemies. Probably the most important video you could watch in Warzone right now. Go over there and click it.